So I was riding one up, but now I'm riding two up. Weight, passenger weight, add it. Get my wrench, back this off. For preload. Mother. Welcome to Sikbaggers YouTube channel. I'm Steve. If you've watched my channel in the past, you had to have known this was coming. So if you're like me and you're tired of removing your saddlebag and getting that stupid janky wrench out and adjusting your suspension every time the weight changes on your bike a little bit, stick around because today I'm going to be showing you how to install Air Ride. With the Air Ride, you can adjust all of that right on the fly. Now I've been running Air Ride front and rear on the 14 Street Glide and on the 15 Road Glide. Today we're going to just be doing the rear suspension to take care of that issue. If you want to do front, you can add the front to it at an additional cost, or you can buy the whole kit and do it all at once. But if you change your mind later on down the road, Dirtyworks has an add-on kit for the front if you want to do that later. It goes right into the system. You don't have to change the whole thing. It's just an addition to what you already have. Now this Air Ride still works on the 23 CVOs and the 24s, and I'm sure on into the future. The rear of the bike hasn't really changed a lot, but there are a few things different on the bike that we'll have to do today to get the Air Ride installed. And I absolutely knew I was going to be doing Air Ride in the center stand on this bike, so we've got that in the shop today. Like I said, we're going to be doing the Air Ride today, but stay tuned for a future video where we do AF Customs front flipping center stand, and I'll show you how to install that, and that works with dual exhaust. Also, when I do the center stand video, I will be doing the 3-switch setup from AF Customs as well that goes right here above the coil pack. That used to be the horn. It used to be a horn mount, but he does have one for the coil pack now. It's going to be a little bit lengthy of a video, but hang in there. I'll have chapters on this video as well, so if you're watching this on a computer, those chapters will show you exactly what we're working on in that part of the video. So let's get the camera over here and let's get started. So of course, first thing you want to do is get your seat off, saddlebags off, side covers off, get all that stuff out of the way. You got a tour pack, get it off too. We're going to go through everything that comes in the box. So inside the larger box, we've got our fast up air tank, got our hose kit, got our wiring kit, new boxes too. That's pretty cool. So that means our other box is going to have our compressor in it, got our dirty shocks. Going to be installing those first. Now you can absolutely do this on the Jiffy stand if you want to do one side at a time, but if you can, get a motorcycle jack underneath it or get it up on a table with a jack under it and get it upright. We're going to take a 3/4 inch, we're going to bust these bolts loose. Now before your air lines are hooked up on this, you can push these in and pull these out. So you want to make sure that your airline is facing forward. We're going to get some blue thread locker. Go ahead and get our top one started. Blue Loctite on this one. Push the shock up to where it's in place. $63 to 70 foot-pounds on these. Remember, one click, one ugga-dugga. Not 3, not 4. We don't keep sitting here clicking the torque wrench. One click. And we're going to repeat that process on the other side. So on to our air tank. You can see the bracket on the back side right here. It's got 2 holes in it. It's going to mount up in these 2 fender strut holes right here. We're going to make sure we tuck this to the inside, and it's going to mount just like that. So we're going to take our bolt, our washer, slide it through, washer, nylock nut on the inside. Get our nut started on the back side. It's going to be a 7/16. Now from there, I'll go ahead and take a zip tie and run it through here. Put our wire in it, but don't tighten this down yet. Just get it started like that. Now we've got our compressor that goes on this side. Before I hook this up, I go ahead and double check my fittings to make sure everything is tight. So go ahead and grab a 9/16 and hit these 2 right here to make sure that they're tight. I'm going to stick this through the middle right here. Go down. Now if you look, this band is what holds this compressor on to this bracket. And right inside here is a 1/2 inch nut. You want to adjust this to where it's not hitting the back of your bag and it's not hitting your pulley. And you can get enough on that bolt at an angle to go ahead and tighten that down. Now this is a 24 and we do have a Dominator fender on here, which is different than what comes on the bike, but it's going to be the same install on your bike with that fender. So make sure that that is tightened down to where it won't move towards the pulley and it won't move towards your bag. We're going to take our positive and our ground. Make sure these are together, and we're going to go right into that first bracket where our tail light harness runs. And zip tie it to that. Now leave it loose. We don't really tighten anything up until we're done. So now we get to do a little bit of magical voiceover. My words aren't going to completely go with my hands, but bear with me, my microphone stopped working. So right here we're going to take our air line and we're going to feed it directly across the middle of the bike. We want to go from one shock to the other. We want to keep it behind the battery, back in that area. So we're going to feed this over all the way across to the other side. Come to this side of the bike and we're going to pull it over, making sure we keep all of this stuff behind the battery. We don't want anything on top of the battery. So we're going to pull this under everything, under our frame, and plug it right into the shock. Go back to the other side, pull it down through behind the frame, pull it up to the shock, mark it. We're going to cut it. Once you cut these, make sure to check the end, use something sharp so it doesn't pinch these air lines. I'm going to look in there and make sure that it's open. Plug it into the shock. Now back on this side, we're going to make sure that we've got enough loop right here. We're going to make this cut and put in our first T. Now back here, we're going to poke our air line into the air tank. It's going to be another push to connect, so just push that down, slide that in, feed it back behind the shock, up through those zip ties that we put up there earlier. Once again, behind the frame and into the area underneath the side cover. We're going to mark it to that T, make another cut, and put that into that T. Now the next part is going to be the center stand safety switch that does come with the kit. A 90 degree and then your switch, it's already got thread tape on it, so go ahead and tighten that on there. But how the center stand safety switch works is basically if there's a leak in your system and you've got it sitting down on a center stand, if anything leaks into those shocks, it will air up and fall over. Now that is rare, but it does happen, so I highly advise that you use the center stand safety switch. Even if it's just on your kickstand and not a center stand, use the center stand safety switch. So I've taken my little heat deflector off that goes right there, and I've went a hole in and I've made a bracket, just a thin piece of metal from here to here, drilled 2 holes in it, one for the size of my bolt and one for the size of my dump valve. So all I have to do is reach in here around my thing and click it. You can get the dump valve up here on your switch that we're going to be installing from AF Customs. I just don't like the dump valve right up there with my switches in case I accidentally hit my dump valve going down the road. So that's just me. You can get it wherever you want it. So I'm going to take my hose, because it has to come to this side where I want my T. I'm going to put it right here through the front. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to have my 90 facing straight up so I can just poke this straight down into it. Make sure you push and then pull on it to make sure it's in there. And then we can turn our 90. And we can reach through here, pull this, and turn our 90 going that way. Now it's on that side of the bike, and we got our functional dump valve right there. So now we got our dump valve over on this side. I want to talk about what we have exactly right here. So we've got a line coming off the shock, a line coming off the shock, coming together, teeing right here. This one goes back to the air tank. So right here in this line, we want to make one more cut, right? We're going to take our second tee. We're going to put it in. We're going to bring this back. We want to route this somewhere out of the way down here and kind of loop back up over here. You can run this however you want. This is just how I run it. Now we've got a complete connection between our shocks, our air tank, and our dump valve. So now we have to run our braided line that goes from the compressor over to the air tank, and this goes across the back. So this is going to double over like this. You can see here we've got a line here. We're going to run this under the fender, and it's going to come over here and attach to the bottom of the air tank. The bottom of the air tank has a 90-degree coming out of it with a little plastic cap on it like this. You want to take that little cap off. Once we get it started, we'll take a 9/16. Get that tightened down. Now right here underneath your fender, you've got a fender bracket that comes off right here off the side of this saddlebag rail. Comes over, comes back. It's a silver bracket that comes around the back of this fender or your OEM fender. Same setup. This is a Dominator once again, but everything behind this is the same. Same bracket that's going to come over here. You're going to take that metal braided cable and you're going to pull it to where the arch is running across the back of the fender, and you're going to zip tie it to that bracket. There'll be a gap on the side of the bracket. You can run the zip tie through there. You can put it right here on this side, wherever you want, to keep that braided cable from going towards the tire. Up around this bracket. Make sure I go around the hose. Now we've got this line on this side coming back, and it is loose back here, right? But it's braided, and we're just going to tuck it in here. I'll get a longer zip tie, go around a thicker part of the bracket back here in the back. Make sure I'm around the hose. Push this in. Push it up. Zip tie it. So inside the kit, you're going to have a relay like this with a bunch of wires, inline fuse. We're going to go ahead and pull that fuse for right now. This does have a bracket on it, so if you want to mount it somewhere, you can. I usually just zip tie it off by the wires underneath that side cover over there. But we got a bunch of wires here coming back from our air tank, and we also have our positive and negative coming off of our air compressor. Dirty has a great diagram of how to wire this. Now, I'm going to go over it with you today, but I mean, it tells you exactly where each wire goes. This is probably one of the best laid out wiring diagrams I've ever seen. Now, it's completely up to you how long you want this stuff, where you want your relay to go. That's the relay that we're talking about here. Figure out where you want that relay and then cut all your wires to length. Now this is the switch that you're going to get with the air ride. You can mount that on your firewall down here like we did with the dump switch, so you can reach in there. There's other switch options on the market. You can get the handlebar switches, you can get the little switches that go in your dummy switches on your dash. Like I said, we're going to be using the one that mounts here, so I'll be pulling this tank. In the next video, when we do the center stand, I'll pull this tank and show how to run that up and bring those wires down and attach that there. But this does come with a switch, and you can mount this wherever you want. So we need to get down to the battery compartment, and the first thing we need to do is just start removing some of this stuff on top of the battery here. But before we start jacking with unplugging everything, right here on the side is your main fuse. It used to be a large fuse, now it's just this little bitty 60 amp fuse here. We're going to pull that first and set that off to the side. You got your wire going back to your rear fender, so you're going to disconnect that. It's a large black plug. You've got these extra 2 plugs here, I think now for heated gear, and we got this plastic tray that just kind of pops out like this. Now we got this, which has a clip right here on this side that you just kind of push over. If you look in here, you can see this stuff. So we're just going to push this towards the tank until it releases like that, and then we can lift that up like that. Now, still, in order to get to the top of the battery, we got a Torx 27 bolt right here. Hopefully you can see that. We're going to remove this Torx 27 because we have this other tray. They don't make it easy. Lots of trays in here now. So that's that tray. That's where the Torx 27 went. Now we finally have access to the positive and the negative. So like I said, we are going to be setting our relay right in here. Like I said, you can bolt this to something if you want to. Don't jack with the top of these. This is your ABS system. So we got our main line off the relay, which I never really understood this, but they use a blue wire going to the inline fuse to a red wire. That's going to go to your positive, and of course this is going to go to your negative. That's going to leave the white and the red here. Phillips screwdriver, get to the ground, put our positive and negative. We're going to tuck it up through here. Go ahead and attach our ground. Go over here to our positive. Now we have our positive and negative terminals hooked up. Now our diagram shows our red from our relay going over back to the pump. So we're going to take this through here. This is a long one. It's shorter over there on the other side. We're going to go this way around the battery and across the back. We don't want anything going over across the top of the battery. The white wire from our relay goes to the yellow wire that comes out of the dump valve back here on the air tank. Now remember, this set of wires here is coming from our air tank, our valves back here. So we're going to bring this up. We only have one wire left on our relay, and it's the white wire. And it shows us specifically that the white wire goes to the yellow wire, right? So I'm going to cut back on our yellow wire and twist that off. You'll also have included heat shrink in here too. We're going to crimp that. Pull our heat shrink up over. So that takes care of all four wires on the relay. This blue goes to a red, goes to positive, black goes to the negative on the battery, red goes over to the other side, white goes to the yellow. This is our red that we poked through, right? So we're going to follow this same as the air line. Come through here. Right there's our air line. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to put it right in here, leave myself some wire on this. So we'll cut that excess off. We'll take this red excess and pull it back over there on that side. We've cut a piece of that larger heat shrink that we had in the kit. Slide it on. Heat shrink. So we got our ground. We're going to trace it back through here too, so it follows all of the wires. We're going to keep all of our wires together so we get a nice clean install at the end of the day. So we got this double ground coming out of our wire harness, and we have this ground from the compressor. Now as far as these grounds go, you can ground these straight to the battery post. You can do that. Now if you don't want a whole bunch of stuff on your battery post, if you look, it's going to be hard for me to get the camera in there, but if you look straight in front of your battery post on this firewall right here, the ground is literally right here. For today, I'm just going to be grounding this to my battery post. So we have both of our grounds here. We're going to make sure to tuck this underneath everything and get it back up in here. And later on, after I get the center stand and all that stuff hooked up, I will be taking all this off and putting it on our frame ground in the front. Now we have everything hooked up, right? We've got our relay. All that stuff's going back to the other side. All of this is going back to the compressor. So for our 2 blue wires, these have to go to an ignition switched wire. So something that's going to be dead when the bike is off and something that's going to be on when the bike is on. So these 2 we can tie together. So I'm reshooting this part of the video, as you can tell, because I've already got the side covers and the saddlebags and everything back on. But the 2 blue wires that come off the switch now need to go to a 12 volt powered source, right? So in the previous videos and installs, I had always used the blue wire on the tail lights, and that worked great. The problem is the harness has 2 blue wires, and I didn't check it first. On your main harness right here, you've got 2 blue wires side by side. It's going to be the second blue wire. So I just went to the other side of this and used the pigtail, so I'm T-tapping into the pigtail and not the Harley Davidson harness. But if you have to, tap into the Harley Davidson harness. Just don't cut the wire, just use a posi tap or something like this, so you can just kind of poke into it and get your 2 wires going to it. Over here on our switch, we're going to make sure that our orange and our blue aren't touching and they aren't grounded out on anything, because like I said before, we're just temporarily doing this because I'm not using this switch. So I sped that up there just a little bit because it does take a little bit to fill up that initial time. I'll go ahead and test the up. Back down. I have it lifted all the way up, and I'm going to test my dump valve up here. So when I hit this, it should dump all the air out of the shocks. It is dumping it out. You can hear it right there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put pressure on the system. I'm going to grab myself a bottle of soap water over there, and I'm going to start spraying all of my fittings. Anywhere that there's a fitting, go ahead and spray it with some soap water and make sure you don't have any leaks. From here, I'm just going to cut the camera, tidy up all the wiring, and then we'll put the bike back together. So I have the bike all the way aired down so you can see what that looks like. I've got the bike in neutral, and I'm also going to do a roll test. It's not rubbing the fender. So I have the bike all the way aired down so you can see what that looks like. I've got the bike in neutral, and I'm also going to do a roll test. It's not rubbing the fender, so that's good. Just in case you ever do have an air leak or a malfunction on your air ride where you can't get it to go up or can't get it to go down, if it's stuck all the way in the down position on the 23.5, 24, you can still get home. It's going to roll. It's not going to rub your fender. It's not going to be a great ride, but you can still get it home. So that's going to be it on the install on the 23 CVO or the 24. Like I said, it's pretty much the same on the 23 and older bikes. There's only a few things underneath the seat that were a little bit different, accessing the battery and getting our wires ran around that battery, getting that stuff up. That's really about the only thing that's different. Like I said a while ago, I would look into alternative switches because that's kind of a pain in the butt. But let me know in the comments what you think about the air ride system. Like I said, we've been running it for almost 6 years on the Street Glide and the Road Glide. Absolutely love it. So I knew I was going to be doing it to this bike. We got a lot of future plans for this bike that are coming up. So stay tuned for more videos on the 24 Road Glide. Pretty easy install, a few simple tools, you can get it done. Everything that I used today in the video will be linked down in the description down below in case you need to pick up those tools. Outside of getting those tools, this is definitely something that you can do at home. If you have any questions on this install, you know the deal. Comment section down below. I'll try to help you the best that I can. If this video helped you, please hit that like and that subscribe. That's what keeps us coming out here and making these videos for you. I'm going to get myself out of here and get cleaned up. I hope to see you in the next video, but until then, as always, be safe. Keep your knees in the breeze. Hey, thanks for stopping by and checking out our videos today. If you like what you see, make sure you hit that like button, hit the little subscribe button popping up over here. If you want to check out more of our content, I've got 2 videos right here that'll get you started. Not really going to say anything else, just click one of those videos and take you to another video.